Hello, my name is Jerry Durham, and I want to introduce myself and I want to set some context. I'm going to be talking a lot here today and in the future about sales and retention in your physical therapy practice, in your healthcare practice. I am actually a physical therapist by training, by schooling. I've been in healthcare for over 30 years. And over the last 15 years or so, I've actually gone from owning a practice to from clinical care to owning a practice to running a practice to now helping other healthcare and physio practices build out what I call their pre-arrival process, which is their sales process to help put more people or clients or patients onto their schedules who will arrive, pay, and stay. And I do that through a company called the Client Experience Company. So again, my name is Jerry Durham. And again, for the last 15 years, I've been heavily focused on this pre arrival process. What happens with these people that we want to serve? What happens with these people that raise their hand because they've engaged with their marketing, because someone told them to call you, because they saw your Facebook ad, because the doctor told them to go to physical therapy, because they Googled you? Once they raise their hand and say, hello, I need your help, how do we manage them? And what I have found out over the last 15 years is how we manage them on that initial phone call. And then during this pre arrival process that runs from that initial contact all the way until they show up in your office, how we manage that will impact their journey in your business, will impact their lifetime value, will impact the likelihood of a completed course of care, will impact the likelihood of arrival, right? All these things, people paying, all of it, all these things increase more during this pre arrival process. And the ROI in your investment in this pre-arrival process will be far greater than anything else you can do in your business. Training your providers, adding new services, adding new treatments, hiring new people, building out SOPs for managing cancels, managing drop-offs, managing no-shows. None of those things have the impact that focusing on your front desk does in your business. And I've got clients to prove it. You're just going to have to bear with me right now and understand that through my experience of doing this in my own business and then bringing it and growing it out further, the results are unmatched at your front desk at the pre-arrival process. So again, a little bit about my journey. I've been in healthcare and a physical therapist for over 30 years. I got out of school. I worked in acute care. I worked in home health. I did everything under the sun except for peds and neuro rehab. I could quit a lot of jobs. I got fired from a couple jobs. And then my wife came to me one day and said, Jerry, you've been the only constant in all these jobs. The problem is not your jobs, it's you. You've got to start your own business. And I said, what? And I didn't disagree with her as the start your own business part, where I said, what? She said, yeah, you got to start your own business. And I did. And that's where my journey started and how I got here today. 18 years of business ownership, grew to four. I think at one time we had five offices, grew to, 20, 30 employees over that time. And during that journey, the thing that pertains to really the work I'm doing today is my partner and I went out of network in the early 2000s, and nobody was going out of network at that time. And not only that, but the word out of network in healthcare in the United States of America was the worst four-letter word you could use. You could probably say the F word on the phone, and it would have impacted people less than saying we're out of network, right? So, long story short, we go out of network and I realized that we have to learn, or I took ownership of this part, right? I have to learn more about this kind of sales part of the business. I don't think I called it sales at the time, but I do remember thinking we have to manage our patients better before they arrive in the business. And that's how my journey here started. I answered all the new incoming new patient calls into my business for a full year. And because we were out of network and decided we wanted people to have their costs before they arrived, I did all the scheduling, all the initial calls, and I did their cost callback, we called them. So we got them their benefits and their costs to do physical therapy with us before arrival. And it was a journey, my friends. It wasn't pretty. And it grew over time. And it was the single best experience that got me to where I am today, and the single best experience to get me to understand where these healthcare consumers were coming from when they were calling physical therapy clinics to Do what? Get scheduled for physical therapy. And so that journey over time, again, I learned in my business. And then after learning that part, I connected it with my providers and did all this work about building out better patient experiences for our own business and then other people's businesses. And by doing this, we had to understand, and you have to understand your client's journey in your business. Where does marketing fit? Where does sales fit? Where does retention fit? And then ultimate, where do the referrals fit? So that's my journey. That's I'm going to say my expertise at this point. I don't do clinical care, but what I love doing is leveraging this front desk team to get these great improvements in arrival rates, in completed plan of care rates, in copay collections, in lifetime value, in more completed plans of care, in more people saying yes to post course of care programs, like if you have wellness programs, training programs, whatever you have, people saying yes on the front end to products, to getting onto an app. All these things is what I now help businesses do. How do we build out a better process, right, to move someone through their journey in your business, and whatever your business looks like and whatever you're selling to them, because you're all selling, is how do we leverage this journey and this conversation upstream, the conversation when they arrive, the conversation when they meet their providers. How do we leverage all this information and all this sharing to get them to make the choices that are best for them based on what your front desk did on the first phone call? So whether you're selling products, whether you're selling plans of care, whether you're selling packages, whether you're selling post course of care programs, I call it like wellness, whether you're selling programs on an app, whether you're in network, out of network, hybrid, whether you're a pediatric clinic, a musculoskeletal clinic, a neuro clinic, all of those things, I've helped all those kinds of people to help establish better pre-arrival processes. We call it sales here, my friends, right? To set up better sales processes so that the clinics could better serve the people in their community that needed their help. That's my history. That's the experience I draw from. I'm going to be showing up here frequently to talk about sales, to drive sales, and to help people, right, here at SME better understand how they can leverage their front desk team, their providers, and how they can better leverage the current business they have to improve clients, patients, people who arrive, pay, and stay, use programs, buy products, all those things. So again, my name is Jerry Durham. I look forward to hopefully talking to a lot of you, having conversations with a lot of you, and helping a lot of you in your own business put together sales programs that you can leverage to serve more people in your community. Cheers.